I turned 70 today and my son just broke my arm because I pushed his wife. It was not an accident. It was a punishment. Michael grabbed my shoulder with a strength I did not recognize. He twisted my arm behind my back until I heard the snap, and then he dragged me to the utility closet while I screamed in pain. His wife watched from the hallway with her arms crossed, saying nothing, wearing that cold smile she always has when she wins. He locked me in. I heard his footsteps walking away. I heard his voice telling her that I had finally learned my lesson. And then silence. A silence so heavy that it hurt more than my arm. I am sitting on the floor of this dark room that smells like bleach and mold with my left arm hanging uselessly at my side, swollen and throbbing. Every beat of my heart sends a wave of pain shooting up to my shoulder. My blouse is stained with sweat and tears. Outside, I can hear laughter. Laughter in my own house. On my birthday. As if nothing happened. As if his mother was not locked up like an animal. 4 hours ago, we were all sitting at the dining room table. I had baked my own cake and decorated my own table because no one else would do it. Linda, my neighbor, came with flowers and a sincere hug. She was the only one. Michael arrived late with that woman. They did not even wish me a happy birthday. They sat down, ate, and talked amongst themselves as if I did not exist. And then I saw something I had been suspecting for weeks. I saw how she reached into my purse that was hanging on the dining chair. I saw how she pulled out my wallet. I saw how she took bills and put them in her purse with a terrifying calmness. I stood up so fast I knocked over my chair. I screamed at her. I called her a thief. I told her she had been stealing from me for months, that I was not stupid, that I had seen the withdrawals in my bank account, that I had found my jewelry in her room. She stood up, looked at me with those empty eyes, and told me I was crazy, that I was a paranoid old woman, that no one would believe me. Michael stood up too, but he did not defend me. He looked at me with disgust, with a contempt that froze my blood. And he believed her. He believed her and not his own mother. Then I did something I should never have done. I walked up to her, put my hand on her chest, and pushed her. It was not strong. I barely moved her. But she let herself fall backward as if I had hit her with all my strength. She tripped over the chair and fell to the floor, screaming. It was theater, pure theater. But Michael did not see it that way. Michael saw his mother assaulting his wife. And then he came at me with a fury I had never seen in his eyes. He grabbed my arm. I tried to pull away. I told him he was hurting me. I begged him, but he squeezed harder and started twisting my arm back. I felt the bone resist. I felt something inside me snap, and then came the pain, a white, blinding pain that made me scream until I ran out of air. He dragged me down the hallway while I cried, while I begged him to stop. Linda was screaming from the door that she would call the police, but Michael did not stop. He threw me in here into this windowless room and locked the door. I heard the key turn. I heard his voice on the other side, calm and cold, saying words I will never forget. Learn your place, Mom. You do not give the orders in this house anymore. I am in charge here. And if you touch my wife again, it will go much worse for you. I pounded on the door with my good hand. I screamed at him to let me out, that I needed a doctor, that I was dying of pain. He did not answer. He just walked away. And I stayed here slumped against the wall, hugging my broken arm, feeling the swelling grow, feeling my fingers go numb. I do not know how much time has passed. It could be an hour, it could be 3. In the dark, it is hard to tell. The pain has changed. It is no longer sharp. Now it is deep and constant, like an animal biting me from the inside. I think about how I got here. I think about the woman I was 30 years ago when Michael was a boy, and I worked double shifts at the textile factory, so he would lack nothing. I think about the nights I spent awake sewing uniforms for others to pay for his private school. I think about how I sold the few pieces of jewelry I had from my mother to buy him his first computer. I gave everything, everything. And now I am here, locked up like a dog with my arm broken by his hand. But then I remember something. I remember that this morning before they arrived, I put my cell phone in the secret pocket of my apron. That old apron I use for cooking, the one with an inner pocket I sewed myself years ago. I put my trembling hand into the pocket. And there it is, the phone, small, scratched with a cracked screen, but there it is. I take it out carefully, using only my right hand because the left one does not respond anymore. The light from the screen blinds me for a moment in the darkness. I have signal. I have battery. I could call the police. I could call Linda. I could call an ambulance. But I do not do it. Because in this moment, with my arm destroyed, with my heart broken, with my dignity trampled, I do not want help. I want justice. And I know exactly who to call. I look in my contacts for a name I have not dialed in 15 years. A name I kept all this time without knowing why. Richard Harrison, my lawyer. But not just any lawyer. Richard is the man who helped me when my husband died and the vultures of his family wanted to take everything from me. He is the man who fought for every penny, every property, every right that belonged to me. He is the man who told me 15 years ago, "Emily, if you ever need a problem to disappear, you call me." It does not matter how much time has passed. My fingers tremble over the screen. I dial the number. It rings once, twice. On the third ring, he answers. His voice is exactly as I remembered it. Deep calm with that tone of a man who has seen too much. "Emily," he says, without asking how I am, without surprise in his voice, as if he had been waiting for this call for 15 years. "Richard," I tell him, and my voice sounds broken small but firm. "I need you to come." My son broke my arm. He has me locked up. He and his wife are stealing everything from me, and I do not want to forgive anymore. I do not want to be the good mother anymore. I want you to make them pay for every single thing they did. There is a silence on the other end. Then I hear him take a deep breath. "Tell me the address," he says. "And Emily, I want you to listen to me carefully. Do not let those ungrateful people leave without paying." With everything. I hang up the phone. I sit in the dark on the floor, hugging my broken arm, feeling something inside me change. I am no longer the mother who begs. I am no longer the old woman who cries. I am the woman who built an empire from zero. I am the woman who survived poverty, widowhood, betrayal. And now, I am the woman who will collect for every tear, every blow, every humiliation. Outside, the laughter continues. But very soon, those laughs are going to turn into something else. I want you to tell me something in the comments. I want you to tell me if you ever felt invisible in your own home. If anyone from your own blood ever made you feel like you were useless. Because I need to know that I am not alone in this. I need to know that someone out there understands what it feels like when your own son looks at you as if you were garbage. Leave me a comment, even if it is just one word. Because right now, locked in this darkness, I need to know that my voice still matters to someone. The little room smells like old cleaning products and dampness. There is a leak somewhere I cannot see, because every few seconds I hear a drop falling against the cement floor. Drip, drip, drip. Like a clock marking the time of my humiliation. My eyes have adjusted to the dark, and I can make out the blurry shapes of brooms leaning against the wall, buckets stacked in the corner, bottles of bleach lined up on the shelf. This room where I keep cleaning supplies has become my cell, in my own house, the house I bought with my husband's life insurance money, the house I fought for in court for 2 years against his brothers who wanted to leave Michael and me on the street. My arm throbs with a dull pain that goes up to my neck. It is hot, swollen. When I try to move my fingers, they barely respond, as if they were no longer mine. I know it is broken. I know I need a doctor. But more than that, I need Richard to arrive. I need him to see what they did to me. I need witnesses to this injustice before Michael invents some story, before that woman finishes poisoning his head completely. I adjust myself against the cold wall, trying to find a position where the pain is more bearable. There is none. Every movement sends waves of agony through my whole body. I close my eyes and try to breathe slowly like they taught me in those senior yoga classes I went to before she came into our lives. Before everything changed, I think about the signs. All those little signs I saw and ignored because I did not want to believe what they were telling me. The first was 2 years ago when Michael came home with her hanging on his arm. Tiffany was her name, a pretty name for a snake. She was 32 years old, 15 years younger than my son. dyed blonde hair, long nails, always perfect, expensive clothes that did not match the salary she claimed to have as a secretary. She smiled at me with all her teeth when Michael introduced us, but her eyes were calculating, measuring, evaluating how much she could get out of me. At first it was subtle. Comments about how big the house was for one person alone. Questions about my finances that she disguised as concern. "Emily, are you sure you can maintain this house by yourself? The property taxes must be very expensive. Michael and I could help you if we move in with you." I told her I did not need help, that I managed my affairs perfectly. But Michael insisted. He told me it was for the best, that this way he could take care of me now that I was older. Older. As if 70 years meant I could no longer think for myself. They moved in a year and a half ago. They brought their things on a Saturday morning in a rented van. I gave them the 2 bedrooms on the second floor, the biggest ones, the ones with private bathrooms. I stayed in my usual room on the ground floor. I thought it would be nice to have company. I thought I would meet my grandchildren one day, that I would have a real family again. How foolish I was. The first months were tolerable. Tiffany cooked once in a while, although she always complained that my pans were too old, that my stove did not work, that we needed new appliances. Michael started coming home late from work, locking himself in his room with her, talking to me less. But I thought it was normal, that it was married life, that I should give them space. Then things started disappearing. First it was the silver brooch that had belonged to my grandmother. I looked all over the house thinking I had misplaced it. It never appeared. Then it was a $50 bill I had kept in my Bible. Then $100 from my purse. Small amounts that made me doubt myself, that made me think maybe I was losing my memory, as Tiffany suggested more and more frequently in front of Michael. One day, I found my jewelry box open in my room. My gold earrings that my husband had given me for our 20th anniversary were missing. The gold chain I had bought with my first paycheck was missing. I went directly to confront Tiffany. She was in the kitchen drinking coffee calm as if nothing was wrong. I asked her if she had seen my jewelry. She looked at me with that perfectly acted, innocent face and told me no, that I probably had sold them myself and forgotten, that it happened to her grandmother too, that it was part of aging. I bit my tongue. I said nothing else. But that night when they went out, I went into her room, and there they were, on her vanity, my earrings, my chain. There were even other things I had not noticed were missing. A small ring from my mother, a bracelet I rarely wore. I took them all and hid them in a new place in a shoebox at the bottom of my closet under old blankets. But I did not say anything to Michael. I should have done it. I should have called the police that same day. 6 months ago, I noticed something worse. My bank statements showed withdrawals I had not made. $300 here, $500 there. Small amounts that added up to thousands. I went to the bank. They told me the withdrawals had been made with my card and my PIN, but I had not made any withdrawal. I never used the card. I always take out money in person with the teller. I asked if they had cameras. They showed me the video. It was Tiffany. Using my card at the ATM as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I changed my PIN that same afternoon. When I got home, I asked Michael to talk alone. I showed him the statements. I showed him the photo the bank had given me of Tiffany at the ATM. I told him his wife was stealing from me. I expected him to get angry. I expected him to confront her. I expected him to defend me. But he did none of that. He stood up, took the papers from my hands, tore them into pieces, and told me I was crazy. That Tiffany would never do that. That I probably gave her the card and forgot. That I should stop inventing things to cause problems in his marriage. That night, I cried until I ran out of tears. My son did not believe me. My own son chose a thief over his mother, and I stayed quiet again. Because I was afraid. Afraid they would kick me out of my own house. Afraid of being left alone. Afraid of admitting I had lost my son forever. I hear footsteps upstairs, muffled voices, laughter. They are celebrating. They are in my living room eating my food in my house while I am down here with a broken arm. The phone is still in my hand. The screen turned off, but I hold it as if it were a lifeline. Richard said he would come. I do not know how long he will take. I do not know what he will do when he arrives. but I know that for the first time in 2 years, someone is going to be on my side. Someone is going to believe me. Someone is going to make this end. Outside, I hear an engine, a car parking in front of the house. My heart beats faster. It could be him. It could be Richard. I sit up as best I can, enduring the pain shooting through my arm. I stand up, leaning against the wall. I am ready. Ready for this to end. Ready for justice to begin. It all started the day Michael told me he had met someone special. It was 3 years ago. On one of those quiet Sundays where I cooked lunch, and he came to visit me like every weekend. He arrived with that smile I had not seen on his face since he was a teenager. A smile that made me feel happy for him, because after the divorce with his first wife, he had been so sad, so lost. He hugged me at the door and told me, "Mom, I met an amazing woman. Her name is Tiffany. I want you to meet her." I was excited. Of course I was excited. My son was smiling again. My son had found someone who made him happy. I asked him everything. How did they meet? What did she do? How long had they been dating? He told me they met at a bar near his office, that she worked as a secretary at an import company, that she was fun smart, that she made him feel young again. He did not mention she was 15 years younger than him. I would discover that later. He brought her home 2 weeks later. I had cooked all day. I prepared pot roast just how Michael likes it, mashed potatoes, green beans, and homemade apple pie. I set the table nicely with the lace tablecloth that had belonged to my mother-in-law. I took out the good china I almost never used. I wanted to make a good impression. I wanted her to see he came from a decent, hard-working family with values. When they arrived, the first thing I noticed was her clothes. Tiffany was wearing a tight white dress, very high heels. A designer bag I knew cost more than $1,000 because I had seen it in a magazine. For a secretary, she dressed very well. Too well. But I told myself not to judge, that maybe she had saved up to buy nice things, that it was none of my business. She greeted me with a hug that smelled of expensive perfume. "Ms. Emily, it is so nice to finally meet you. Michael talks about you all the time." Her voice was sweet, soft, perfectly modulated. Her nails were long and painted bright red. When she let me go, I saw how her eyes scanned the living room. She was not looking at me. She was evaluating the house, the furniture, the paintings on the wall, the size of the rooms she could see from the entrance. During the meal, she talked a lot, too much. She told me she came from a small town in the South, that she had come to the city looking for better opportunities, that her family was humble but honest. It all sounded rehearsed, like a speech she had practiced in front of the mirror. Michael looked at her dazed, hanging on every word, nodding like a fool in love. I tried to ask questions. I asked about her job, about her future plans, about what she looked for in a relationship. Her answers were vague, general, full of cliches. After eating, while I cleared the table, I heard Tiffany telling Michael in a low voice, "Your mom lives alone in this big house. She must feel very lonely, and it is dangerous for a woman her age to live without company. Anything could happen to her." Michael answered something I did not catch, but the tone was worried. She was planting seeds. From the first day, she was planting the seeds of what would come later. The visits became more frequent. Michael started bringing her every weekend. They always arrived empty-handed. She never brought a bottle of wine or a dessert, nothing. But I cooked for them anyway. I welcomed them with open arms because I wanted my son to be happy. I wanted to believe this woman was good for him. Tiffany started making comments about the house, that the walls needed paint, that the furniture was too old, that the garden was neglected. She always said it with a smile as if she were trying to help, but I felt the poison behind every word. And Michael started repeating those things. "Mom, Tiffany is right. You should renovate the house a little. I can help you look for painters." I told him I did not have money for that the house was fine as it was, but he insisted. One day they arrived without warning. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was in the garden pruning the roses. I heard the doorbell and went to answer with my hands still dirty with soil. It was Michael, and he brought Tiffany. I was surprised to see them because he never came during the week. "Mom, we need to talk to you," he told me with a seriousness that made me nervous. We went into the living room and sat down. Tiffany took Michael's hand as if looking for support. "Mom said, Michael, we are getting married." I screamed with happiness. I got up to hug him. I was genuinely excited. I was going to have a daughter-in-law. Maybe I would have grandchildren soon. Maybe I would have a complete family again. How naive I was. How blind I was. But Michael had not finished. And we have been thinking he continued looking at Tiffany before looking back at me, that after the wedding, we would like to move in with you. This house is too big for you alone. We could help you with expenses with maintenance, and you would have company. It would be good for everyone. Something in my stomach twisted. Something told me this was a bad idea, but I looked at my son, I saw the hope in his eyes, and I could not say no. He was my only son, my only family. If this made him happy, I had to accept it. "Of course, son," I told him, "this will always be your house. You can move in whenever you want." Tiffany smiled. It was a quick, triumphant smile that disappeared from her face so fast I almost thought I had imagined it. But I saw it. I saw how she squeezed Michael's hand. I saw how her eyes shone with something that was not love. It was victory. They got married 3 months later in a small wedding that I paid for. Tiffany wanted something big, elegant in a luxury hotel, but Michael asked me to help them financially because he did not have enough savings. I took $8,000 from my savings account, money I had been saving for emergencies. I paid for the venue, the food, the photographer, even her dress that cost $2,000. Tiffany chose it without asking me if I could afford it. She just bought it and gave me the bill. On the wedding day, she was radiant. I was sitting in the front row watching my son get married, feeling that mix of happiness and melancholy that all mothers feel. But I also felt something else, an unease I could not explain during the ceremony when the judge asked if anyone opposed the marriage. For a second, I thought about standing up, about saying yes, that I opposed it, that something about that woman was not right. But I stayed quiet. I swallowed my doubts, and I sealed my own fate. They moved in 2 weeks after the wedding. They arrived with boxes and more boxes of things. Clothes, shoes, new furniture they bought without asking me. Tiffany redesigned the rooms on the second floor completely. She threw away my curtains and put up new ones. She changed the paintings on the walls. She moved furniture. She turned the sewing room where I spent my afternoons into her walk-in closet. I said nothing. I thought she had a right to make her space comfortable. The first months were strange. I tried to give them privacy, but the house never felt big enough for the 3 of us. Tiffany had rules. She did not want me entering her area on the second floor without knocking first. She did not want me using certain armchairs in the living room because they were her favorites. She started cooking some nights, and when I tried to help, she said she preferred to do it alone, that I just got in the way in the kitchen. My kitchen. The kitchen where I had prepared meals for 40 years. Michael changed. Little by little, he stopped being the son I knew. He stopped hugging me when he got home from work. He stopped asking me how my day had been. When I tried to talk to him, he looked at Tiffany as if asking for permission to answer me. She was always there between us like an invisible wall that grew higher every day. And then the thefts began. The first theft I could prove was my engagement ring. I kept it in a little red velvet box inside the top drawer of my dresser. It was the only thing I had left from my husband besides memories. A simple white gold ring with a small diamond that he had bought with 3 months' salary. It was not worth a fortune, maybe $1,500, but to me it was priceless. One morning, I went to look for it because I wanted to clean it, make it pretty, remember better times. The box was still there, but it was empty. I searched my whole room thinking maybe I had put it somewhere else and forgotten. I checked every drawer, every pocket of my clothes, under the bed, inside my shoes. Nothing. I went up to the second floor and knocked on their bedroom door. Tiffany opened it wearing a silk robe that probably cost more than my monthly utility bills. She looked at me with annoyance as if I had interrupted something important. I asked her if she had seen my ring. She told me no with a face of perfect innocence. Then she added, "Ms. Emily, you know at your age it is normal to start forgetting where you put things. My grandmother was the same. You probably put it somewhere and do not remember." Those words. Those damned words she would repeat again and again over the next few months. Every time something disappeared, every time I complained, she reminded me of my age. She made me feel like I was losing my mind, like I was a senile old woman who could no longer trust her own memory. And the worst part is, I started to believe her. I started to doubt myself. But the thefts continued. 2 weeks later, $300 I had kept in an envelope in my Bible were missing. Money I was saving to fix the roof leak. I confronted Tiffany again. Again, she told me I probably spent that money and forgot. On what did I spend it? I asked her. I have not left the house in days, she shrugged. I do not know, Emily. Maybe you gave it to someone. Maybe you hid it somewhere else. Sometimes older people do those things without realizing it. I went to Michael. I told him about the money. I told him about the ring. I begged him to talk to his wife that something strange was happening. He sighed as if I were a heavy burden he had to bear. Mom, Tiffany is not stealing from you. She has her own money. She does not need yours. You probably lost it and do not want to admit it. You are looking for someone to blame. His words hurt me more than any theft. My own son did not believe me. My own son treated me like a liar. I decided to be more careful. I started hiding my money in different places, inside old books, in shoe boxes at the back of the closet, in the pockets of coats I no longer wore. But nothing worked. She always found everything. It was like she had a radar to detect where I hid my things. I lost another $500, then $200, then $700. In 6 months, she had stolen more than $3,000 in cash. But money was not the only thing. My jewelry kept disappearing one by one. The pearl earrings my mother gave me before she died. A gold bracelet I had bought with my first paycheck when I started working at the factory. An antique brooch that had belonged to my grandmother. Each piece was a piece of my history, of my life, and she was erasing them. One day, I decided to enter her room when they were not there. I know it was wrong. I know I invaded their privacy, but I could not take it anymore. I needed proof. I needed to know I was not crazy. I waited until Michael went to work and Tiffany went to the hair salon. I went up the stairs with my heart beating so fast I thought I would have a heart attack. I opened the door to their room. It was immaculately tidy, the bed perfectly made, not a piece of clothing out of place. Everything smelled like that sweet perfume she used that gave me a headache. I started searching. I opened drawers carefully, trying to leave everything as it was. I checked her closet full of expensive clothes, designer shoes, brand name purses. Too many things for a secretary. At the bottom of the closet, under a pile of sweaters, I found a wooden box. I pulled it out. It was locked. I looked for the key in nearby drawers. I found it hidden inside a sock. I opened the box with trembling hands, and there was everything. My engagement ring, my mother's earrings, the gold bracelet, my grandmother's brooch, all my jewelry that had disappeared over the last few months. But there was more. There was jewelry I had never seen, expensive rings, gold necklaces, men's watches that looked valuable. Where had she gotten all that? How many other people had she robbed? I also found documents, bank statements in her name showing large deposits, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Where was so much money coming from? There were pawn shop receipts. She had sold some jewelry, not mine, thank God. But other pieces, yes. This was professional. She was a professional thief. And my son had married her knowing nothing. I took photos of everything with my cell phone. Photos of my jewelry in her box. Photos of the documents. Photos of the receipts. I put everything back as it was and left the room. I went down to my room and sat on the bed trying to process what I had discovered. I had proof. Finally, I had proof that I was not crazy, that she was indeed stealing from me. When Michael arrived that night, I waited for him in the living room. I showed him the photos on my phone. I explained everything. I told him where I had found my things. I expected him to get angry with her. I expected him to confront her. I expected him to finally believe me. But his reaction was the opposite. He got furious with me. He yelled at me, asking how dare I enter their room without permission, that I had violated their privacy, that those jewels were probably Tiffany's, and I just wanted to cause problems. He snatched the phone from my hands and deleted all the photos in front of me. "I do not want to hear these ridiculous accusations again," he told me with a cold voice I did not recognize. "Tiffany is my wife. If you keep attacking her, you are going to have to find another place to live." Those words broke my heart. My son was threatening to kick me out of my own house, the house I had bought, the house I had fought for in court, all because I dared to tell the truth about his wife. That night, Tiffany did not come down for dinner. She stayed upstairs in her room. But the next day, when Michael left for work, she came down to the kitchen where I was drinking coffee. She sat across from me with a smile that froze my blood. "Ms. Emily," she told me with a soft voice, almost sweet, "I hope we have learned our lesson. This is my house now. Michael is my husband. He believes me, not you. So I suggest you stop inventing stories if you want to keep living under this roof." I did not answer. I just looked at her. And in that moment, I knew I had lost, that she had won, that my son chose to believe a thief over his own mother. I got up from the table and went to my room. I cried for hours, but tears changed nothing. The thefts became more blatant after that. She no longer bothered to be subtle. One day, I found my checkbook in her purse when she dropped it in the living room. It had 3 checks signed by me, checks I had never signed. She had forged my signature. When I confronted her, she told me I had given them to her and forgotten, that she had receipts if I wanted to see them. She had no receipts. But Michael believed her anyway. I checked my bank account and discovered more than $15,000 were missing, withdrawals I had not made, checks I had not signed. I went to the bank and tried to report it as fraud, but the manager told me I needed a police report, and if I filed a police report against Tiffany, Michael would never forgive me. I would be completely alone. Then she started with something worse. She started controlling me. She told me what times I could use the kitchen. She forbade me from having visitors without warning her first. When Linda, my neighbor, came to visit me, Tiffany stayed in the living room listening to our whole conversation, making uncomfortable comments until Linda left. Once she told me, "Ms. Emily, I think it would be better if your friends did not come so often. It interrupts our family peace." I stopped inviting Linda. I stopped going out. I stayed in my room most of the day. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. Michael barely spoke to me anymore. When he got home from work, he went straight to the second floor. We no longer ate together. I cooked for myself and ate in my room. They ordered food delivery and ate upstairs. It was as if I did not exist. 6 months passed living like this. 6 months where I became a shadow inside my own house. I got up early before they woke up to use the kitchen without bothering anyone. I made my coffee in silence, ate something quick, and locked myself in my room the rest of the day. I heard their footsteps upstairs, their laughter, their conversations that never included me. It was like living in a hotel where I was not welcome. Linda remained my only contact with the outside world. Sometimes we met in the garden when Tiffany was not watching. Linda brought me sweet bread, told me neighborhood gossip, tried to cheer me up. But I saw the worry in her eyes. I had become thinner, quieter, sadder. "Emily," she told me, "this is not right. That woman is destroying you. You have to do something." But what could I do? It was my word against hers, and Michael would always believe her. I had lost my son. I had lost him completely. The boy I raised, whom I fed, whom I protected throughout his childhood, no longer existed. In his place was a man who saw me as a problem, as an obstacle, as something he needed to get rid of. Then came my 70th birthday. I did not expect anything. I did not expect a celebration or gifts or attention. I just wanted the day to pass without incident. But Linda insisted on coming to visit me. She arrived at 2 in the afternoon with a bouquet of flowers from her garden and a tight hug. "Happy birthday, friend," she told me with so much affection, my eyes filled with tears. We were in the living room when Michael and Tiffany arrived. I was surprised to see them because it was early, barely 3 in the afternoon, and Michael never left work that early. Tiffany was carrying a bag from an expensive bakery. She took out a small cake, almost ridiculous, with one little candle in the center. "Happy birthday, mother-in-law," she told me with that fake smile I already knew so well. Michael did not even hug me. He just said, "Congrats, Mom," without looking me in the eyes. I blew out the candle because Linda was there and I did not want to make a scene. We cut the cake. Linda tried to make conversation, but the atmosphere was tense. Tiffany kept looking at her phone, bored. Michael ate his piece of cake in 3 bites and said he had to make some work calls. Linda stayed a little longer and then left, not before whispering to me, "Call me if you need me." When Linda left, the house fell silent. I was gathering the dirty plates from the living room when I saw something that made my blood boil. I saw Tiffany reach into my purse, which was hanging on the back of the dining chair. I saw her take out my wallet. I saw her open it and take out several bills as if it were nothing, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, as if that money were hers. Something inside me broke. Something I had been holding back for months, for years, finally exploded. I dropped the plates I had in my hands. The noise made Tiffany turn around. Our eyes met. She did not seem scared. She did not seem guilty. She just looked at me with that contempt that had always been there beneath the mask of fake kindness. "Thief," I told her. My voice sounded strange, as if it came from another person. "You are a damn thief. I saw you. I saw how you took the money from my wallet, just like you have been stealing from me for months, years." Tiffany stood up slowly. She put the bills in her pocket without any shame. "I do not know what you are talking about, Emily. You are seeing things again. You should go to the doctor. I think the dementia is advancing." "I am not crazy," I screamed. "I saw you. I just saw you. And I found my jewelry in your room. I know you have been stealing from me. I know what you are." Michael ran down the stairs. "What is going on here? Why are you screaming, Mom?" "Your wife is a thief," I told him, pointing at Tiffany. "I just saw her stealing money from my wallet, and I found all my jewelry that I had supposedly lost hidden in her room. She has been stealing from me since she arrived in this house." Michael looked at Tiffany. She put her hands to her face and started crying, perfect tears running down her cheeks without ruining her makeup. "Michael, I do not know why your mom hates me so much. I've tried to be good to her. I've tried to take care of her, but she is always accusing me of horrible things. I cannot take it anymore." "She is lying," I screamed. "Please, Michael, please believe me. Just check her pocket. The money she just stole from me is there." Michael approached Tiffany and put a hand on her shoulder. "Can I see your pocket, honey?" he asked her, with a soft voice. Tiffany nodded, still crying. She put her hand in her pocket and took out the bills. But when she showed them, she said, "This is my money, Michael. The money I earned this week. Your mom is accusing me of stealing her money, but this is mine. I have the ATM receipt if you want to see it." Of course she had a receipt. Of course she had thought of everything. She had probably withdrawn money that morning precisely to have an alibi. She was so calculating, so cold, so perfect in her evil. Something inside me cracked completely. I saw my son believing her again. I saw how he hugged her. I saw how he looked at me with pity and anger, and I could not stand it anymore. I walked up to Tiffany. I put my hand on her chest, and I pushed her. It was not a hard push. I barely moved her, but she took advantage. She let herself fall backward as if I had hit her with all my strength. She tripped over the chair that was behind her. She fell to the floor screaming as if I were killing her. "She hit me. Michael, your mom hit me." She screamed from the floor, holding her arm as if it were broken. It was all acting, pure theater. But Michael did not see it that way. What happened next was so fast I almost do not remember it. Michael grabbed my arm, my left arm. He squeezed so hard I felt his fingers digging into my skin. "How dare you hit my wife?" he screamed in my face. His breath smelled of coffee. His eyes were full of rage. "How dare you?" "Michael, let me go. You are hurting me," I told him, trying to break free, but he squeezed harder. He started twisting my arm back. The pain was unbearable. "Michael, stop. You are going to break my arm." But he did not stop. He kept twisting my arm with that brutal force I never imagined he would use against me. I heard Linda's voice from the door. She had come back because she forgot her glasses. "Let her go. You are going to hurt her," she was screaming. But Michael did not listen. He did not see. He only felt rage. And then I heard the snap. I felt something inside my arm break. The pain went through me like a white, blinding lightning bolt. I screamed. I screamed so loud I thought the neighbors would call the police. But no one came. No one except Linda, who was still screaming from the door. Michael let me go. He looked at my arm hanging at a strange angle. I saw fear in his eyes for a second. Just for a second. Then the rage returned. He grabbed my other arm and dragged me down the hallway. I was crying. I was begging him. "Michael, please, I need a doctor. You broke my arm. Please, son, stop." But he continued dragging me to the utility closet. He pushed me inside. I fell to the floor because I could not support myself with my broken arm. The pain was so intense that for a moment I thought I would pass out. I heard his voice from outside. Cold, hard, without a trace of the boy I had raised. "Learn your place, Mom. You do not give the orders in this house anymore. I am in charge here, and if you touch my wife, again, it will go much worse for you." He closed the door. I heard the key turn. I heard his footsteps walking away. I heard Linda screaming that she would call the police. I heard Tiffany telling her to leave, that this was a family matter, that Linda had no business being there. I was left alone in the dark, with a broken arm, with a shattered heart, with the absolute certainty that I had lost my son forever. But then I remembered the phone I had hidden in my apron pocket, and I remembered the name I had kept for 15 years. Richard Harrison, the lawyer who had told me if I ever needed a problem to disappear to call him. I took out the phone with the hand that still worked. I dialed the number, and when Richard answered with that deep, calm voice, I told him exactly what I needed: justice, revenge, reparation. Everything they had taken from me, I would get back. And they would pay. They would pay dearly for every tear, for every theft, for every humiliation, for this broken arm, for everything. Richard arrived exactly 43 minutes after my call. I know it was 43 minutes because I counted every second in that dark room, clinging to the phone as if it were my only connection to sanity. The pain in my arm had changed. It was no longer that sharp, blinding pain from the beginning. Now it was a deep, pulsating pain that reminded me with every heartbeat that my own son had broken a bone. I heard the doorbell, then voices. Richard's voice was unmistakable, deep and firm, with that tone of a man who does not accept refusal. "I am Ms. Emily Miller's attorney. Do you have 30 seconds to open that door, or will I call the police for kidnapping and assault?" There was silence. Then I heard Michael say something I did not catch. Richard's voice sounded again harder. "I am not interested in your version. Open that door now, or this will get very ugly for you." The key turned in the lock. The door opened. The hallway light blinded me for a moment. Richard was there, older than I remembered him, with his hair completely white now, but with that same imposing presence he always had. Behind him were Michael and Tiffany, she with her arms crossed, and an expression of annoyance, he with a pale face and clenched fists. Richard knelt beside me. His eyes scanned my swollen arm, the strange angle it hung at the tears on my face. "Emily," he said with a soft voice that contrasted with the hard sound he had used outside, "we are going to get you out of here. We are going to fix this. Everything." He took off his jacket and put it over my shoulders. Then he took out his phone and called an ambulance. "She does not need an ambulance," said Michael from the door. "This was an accident. She fell. I just—" Silence interrupted Richard without even looking at him. "Do not say another word. Every single thing that comes out of your mouth from this moment can and will be used against you." He looked back at me. "Can you walk?" I nodded. He helped me stand up. "The end?" Movement made the pain explode again in my arm, but I bit my lip not to scream. While we waited for the ambulance, Richard took out his phone and started taking photos. Photos of my arm. Photos of the closet where they had locked me. Photos of the key still in the lock on the outside. Evidence, he told me. All this is evidence. Then he looked at Michael and Tiffany, who were still in the hallway watching. "I hope you have a good lawyer. You're going to need one." The ambulance arrived. 2 paramedics came in with a stretcher. They checked my arm carefully, put on a makeshift sling, and gave me something for the pain. While they were loading me onto the stretcher, I saw Linda at the front door. She had her hands over her mouth and her eyes full of tears. "I am going with you," she told me. Richard nodded. "You are a witness. I need you." At the hospital, they took me straight to x-rays. The doctor, a young man with a worried face, showed me the images. "Ms. Miller, you have a complete fracture of the humerus. It is a serious injury. You're going to need surgery to put in a pin." He explained the procedure, the risks, the recovery time. I barely listened. I only thought about Michael, about how he had done this to me, about how he had chosen that woman over me. While they prepared me for surgery, Richard stayed by my side. "Emily, I need you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Every theft, every abuse, every threat, everything." And I told him. I told him about the missing jewelry, about the stolen money, about the forged checks, about how they had isolated me, about how they had made me feel crazy. I told him everything while the nurses put in the IV, while they prepared to take me to the operating room. "I have photos," I told him. Well, I had. I took photos of my jewelry in her room, of the bank documents I found, but Michael deleted them from my phone. Richard shook his head. "It does not matter. There are ways to recover deleted photos. Give me your phone." I gave it to him. He put it in his briefcase. "A friend of mine is an expert in data recovery. We are going to get those photos back, and we are going to get much more." When I woke up from surgery, I had a cast from my shoulder to my wrist. The doctor explained that everything had gone well, that the pin was in place, that I would need physical therapy for months. Richard was still there, sitting in a chair next to my bed, working on his laptop. "How do you feel?" he asked me when he saw I was awake. "Like a truck ran over me," I replied. My voice sounded thick from the anesthesia. Richard smiled barely. "Rest. Tomorrow we start working." I closed my eyes. But before falling asleep again, I asked him, "What are you going to do?" His answer was simple. "Justice, Emily. I am going to get justice." I spent 3 days in the hospital. Richard came every morning with news. The first day, he told me he had hired a private investigator to follow Tiffany. "We need to know everything about her. Where does she come from? What has she done? Who else has she robbed?" The second day, he brought me my phone. We recovered the photos, all of them, and they are pure gold. We have clear evidence of theft, forgery, fraud. The third day, he arrived with a smile. "Emily, your daughter-in-law is a professional criminal. My investigator found that she has records in other states. She has done this before. She marries older men or moves in with vulnerable families. She steals everything she can and disappears. She has at least 3 different identities. Tiffany is not even a real name." I felt a mix of vindication and horror. Vindication because I was right. I was not crazy. She was exactly what I thought. Horror because my son had married a professional con artist and had no idea. "Did you tell Michael?" I asked. Richard shook his head. "Not yet. First, we need to secure your assets. We need to protect your house, your bank accounts, everything. Because when this explodes, she's going to try to take everything she can." During those 3 days, Michael did not come to visit me. Not a call, not a message, nothing. Linda did come every day. She brought me homemade food because she said the hospital food was terrible. She told me what was happening at the house. "Tiffany is selling things," she told me. "I saw her taking boxes out of the house and putting them in a car. I think she's preparing to run." Richard acted fast. He got a court order to freeze my bank accounts and protect them from any unauthorized access. He changed the locks on my house while they were out. He hired a security service so no one could take anything off the property without my authorization. "Your house is protected now," he told me. "Nothing leaves there without you approving it." When I was discharged, Richard took me to a hotel. "You are not going back to that house yet, not until we have everything ready." The hotel was simple but clean. Linda stayed with me that first night. She helped me bathe, change, comb my hair. I cried in her arms. "How could I lose my son like this?" I asked her. She hugged me tighter. "You did not lose him. He lost himself. But you are going to get your life back. You are going to get your dignity back." The next day, Richard came with more news. I filed a civil lawsuit against Tiffany for theft, fraud, and misappropriation. I also filed a criminal complaint. And Emily, there is more. The investigator discovered she has a secret bank account where she has been depositing all the money she stole from you. More than $30,000. We are going to recover every penny." "And Michael?" I asked. Richard sighed. "Michael is complicated. Technically, he committed assault by breaking your arm. We could proceed criminally against him too, but I understand he's your son. The decision is yours." I did not know what to answer. Part of me wanted him to pay for what he did to me. Another part, the part that was still a mother, could not bear the idea of sending him to jail. 2 weeks passed before. Michael finally called me. 2 weeks where I lived in that simple hotel going to physical therapy for my arm meeting with Richard to plan the next steps, learning to live without the constant weight of fear and humiliation. When I saw his name on my phone screen, my heart raced. I thought about not answering. I thought about letting him suffer like he had made me suffer. But he was my son, and a part of me, however damaged, needed to hear his voice. "Mom," he said when I answered. His voice sounded tired, broken. "Mom, I need to talk to you. I need to see you." I did not answer immediately. I let the silence stretch between us. "Why?" I asked finally. "Why now, Michael?" 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks where I was in the hospital, where I had surgery, where I suffered alone. "And you did not come. You did not call." "Nothing." "I know," he said. "I know, and I have no excuse. I need to explain things. I need you to listen to me. Please." There was something in his voice. Something that was not the arrogance I had heard the day he broke my arm. He sounded scared, confused. "Come to the hotel," I told him and gave him the address. "But come alone. If you bring that woman with you, I will not open the door." He arrived an hour later. When I opened the hotel room door, I almost did not recognize him. He had lost weight. He had deep, dark circles. His clothes were wrinkled as if he had slept in them. He stood in the doorway, not knowing what to do. "Can I come in?" he asked. I moved aside. He entered and sat on the only chair in the room. I sat on the bed, keeping distance between us. "Tiffany left," he said without preamble. "She left 3 days ago. She took everything. Her things, my expensive clothes, jewelry, money, my laptop, even the new appliances we had bought. She cleaned out our joint bank account. She left me with nothing." He looked at me with pleading eyes, and before leaving, she left me a note where she confessed everything. She told me she never loved me, that she only married me to steal from my family, that I was so easy to manipulate she almost pitied me. I felt something strange in my chest. It was not satisfaction exactly. It was not revenge. It was rather a deep sadness, knowing that my son had finally opened his eyes, but at such a high cost. "I told you," I whispered. "I told you from the beginning. I showed you evidence. I begged you to believe me, and you never did." "I know," he said. His voice cracked. "I know, Mom, and there are no words to tell you how sorry I am. I was an idiot. I was the worst son. I did unforgivable things to you. I broke your arm. I locked you up as if you were an animal. I treated you as if you were crazy when I was the crazy one for believing her." Tears began to fall down his face. "When I found the note, when I saw she had taken everything, when I finally realized you were right about everything, I wanted to die. I wanted to disappear from shame. And what do you want me to do now?" I asked him. My voice sounded harder than I intended. "Do you want me to forgive you? Do you want me to tell you everything is okay?" "It is not okay, Michael. Nothing is okay. You broke my arm." My own son broke my arm because I dared to tell the truth about his wife. "Do you have any idea how that feels?" "I cannot even imagine it," he said. "I cannot imagine the pain I caused you, the physical and emotional pain, and I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I know you probably hate me, and you have every right to do so, but I needed to see you. I needed to tell you face to face that you were right, that I am a fool, that I ruined everything." We stayed in silence for a long time. I looked at my son, this broken man who had been a sweet boy so many years ago, and tried to reconcile the two images. The boy who hugged me when he had nightmares, the man who had locked me in a dark closet. Richard told me everything I said finally. He told me she is a professional con artist, that she has a record, that she has done this before with other families, that Tiffany is not even a real name. Michael nodded. They told me when they came to the house with an arrest warrant, but she had already gone. She disappeared without a trace. He looked up at me. Mom, I came here to tell you something else. I came to tell you that I am going to testify. I am going to testify about everything I saw, about everything she did. I am going to help you recover every penny she stole. And if you want to proceed legally against me for what I did to you, I will understand. I will accept it. I deserve it. Richard told me you could file assault charges. I told him that with the photos, with Linda's testimony, with the medical records, we have a solid case. I saw him turn pale. But I do not know if I can do it. I do not know if I can send my own son to jail, although part of me wants you to suffer as I suffered. Whatever you do. I accept it, he said. If you want me to go to jail, I will go. If you want me never to speak to you again, I will do it. Whatever you decide, Mom. This time, whatever you decide. I told him I needed time to think, that I needed to process all of this, that I could not make a decision like that right now. He nodded and stood up to leave. But before reaching the door, he turned. Mom, one more thing. I found something when I was cleaning the mess Tiffany left. I found documents. Documents showing she did not just steal from you. She was planning to sell the house. She had forged your signature on property transfer documents. If you had not defended yourself that day, if you had not pushed Tiffany away, likely in a few months, she would have left you with nothing. That information hit me like a punch in the stomach. She did not just want to steal from me, she wanted to destroy me completely. She wanted to leave me on the street, without a house, without money, without anything. Give me those documents, I told him. Give them to Richard. That is more evidence. Michael left and I stayed alone in the hotel room, processing everything I had just heard. My son had finally opened his eyes. He finally believed me. But was it enough? Could I forgive him for everything he had done to me? I did not know. Honestly, I did not know. The next day, Richard came with important news. Emily, the investigator, tracked down Tiffany. Well, the woman who called herself Tiffany. Her real name is Jessica Banks, and they found her in another state living with another older man doing exactly the same thing. The police arrested her this morning. She's being extradited here to face charges. I felt a huge relief. Finally, she was going to pay. Finally, she was going to face the consequences of what she did. And the money? I asked. Can we get it back? Richard nodded. The bank account where she deposited your money was frozen. We will recover most of it. Not all because she spent some, but most of it, yes. During the next few weeks, everything moved fast. Jessica or Tiffany or whatever she was really called was processed. Michael testified against her. I testified. Linda testified. Richard presented all the evidence. The photos recovered from my phone, the forged documents, the bank records, everything. The case was so solid she could not even deny it. Her lawyer convinced her to accept a plea deal. 5 years in prison for fraud, theft, and forgery. On the day of the sentencing, I was in court. I saw her enter handcuffed, wearing an orange prison uniform without makeup, without perfect nails, without that mask of superiority she always wore. She looked small, ordinary. When the judge read the sentence 5 years in state prison, she showed no emotion. She just nodded. But when they were taking her out of the room, she looked at me. And in that look, I saw pure hate. Hate because I had won. Because she had not destroyed me. Because I was still standing. I recovered $32,000 of my money. It was not the almost $40,000 she had stolen, but it was something. Richard helped me secure my house completely. He changed all the documents so no one could touch my property without my explicit consent before a notary. He put legal locks on all my accounts. He made me sign a clear will specifying exactly what would happen to my assets when I died, but there remained a pending decision. What to do with Michael? Richard pressured me to press charges. Emily, he broke your arm. That is assault. He deserves to pay for it. Linda agreed. That man hurt you. He needs to learn there are consequences. But I still could not make up my mind. Michael came to see me every week for 2 months. Every visit was uncomfortable, filled with heavy silences and words we did not know how to say. But he kept coming. He kept appearing with that face of regret, with red eyes of someone who does not sleep well with that weight of guilt that was consuming him inside. One afternoon, he brought me all the documents he had found in the room he shared with that woman. Papers showing how she had planned everything meticulously. There were drafts of documents to sell my house. There was research on how much the property was worth. There were handwritten notes where she calculated how much money she could extract before disappearing. He had even found a fake passport with her photo but another name. She had always had an escape route planned. "Look at this," Michael told me, pointing to a small notebook. "Here is everything. Dates of when she started stealing from you, exact amounts. She even has noted down when she gave you sleeping pills." "What pills?" I asked, confused. Michael turned pale. "Do you not remember? There were like 3 months where you felt very tired all the time, where you slept a lot. She made you tea at night. She said it was to help you rest better." My stomach churned. "She was drugging me." Michael nodded, enough to keep you confused, drowsy, so you would not notice what she was doing. "Here, she has noted the name of the medicine. It was a mild sedative she bought over the counter." All my rage returned. She had not just stolen from me. She had not just isolated me. She had drugged me. She had turned me into a zombie version of myself to rob me more easily. "This goes to Richard," I told him, taking the notebook. "This is evidence of more crimes. She's going to pay for every single thing she did to me." Richard presented the new evidence to the prosecutor. The notebook was pure gold. It showed premeditation, planning, cruelty. The prosecutor called Jessica back and offered her a new deal: 7 years instead of 5, or go to trial where she would likely get 10. She accepted the 7 years. I was present when she signed the new agreement. I saw her lawyer telling her it was her best option. I saw how she clenched her jaw, defeated. But while all this was happening, I was still living in that hotel. I still had not returned to my house. I could not. Every time I thought about going back, I saw the dark closet. I felt the pain in my arm. I heard Michael's voice telling me to learn my place. Linda visited me often, and one day she told me something that made me think. "Emily, that house is yours. You bought it. You fought for it. Do not let bad memories take it from you. You have to take it back like you took back your money." She was right. That house was mine. Every brick, every window, every corner had been paid for with my work, with my effort. I was not going to let them take it from me, not even in my mind. So one day I told Richard, "I want to go back to my house, but I want it completely clean. I want you to take out everything she left. I want you to paint the walls. I want you to change the locks. I want that house to be mine again." Richard hired a professional cleaning crew. They took out all of Jessica's things that remained, all her clothes, her shoes, her beauty products, everything. They donated it to charity. They painted the walls of the second floor a new color. They changed the curtains. They replaced the mattress in the room she had used. When I finally entered my house 3 months after that terrible birthday night, it felt different. It felt clean. It felt mine again. Linda helped me settle in. We made coffee in my kitchen. We sat in the living room, and for the first time in years, I felt peace in my own home. But that peace lasted little. Because that night when I was getting ready to sleep, I heard knocking on the door. It was Michael. He was crying. "Mom, please let me in, please." I opened the door. He collapsed on the living room sofa and cried like I had not seen him cry since he was a child. I lost everything he said between sobs. I lost my job because I could not concentrate. I lost my apartment because I could not pay rent after she robbed me. I have nothing. I have no one. And it is my fault. Everything is my fault. Part of me wanted to comfort him. He was my son. But another part, the part that still carried the weight of the broken arm, the confinement, the betrayal, remained cold. "And what do you want me to do?" I asked. "Do you want me to tell you it is okay? Do you want me to give you money? Do you want to live here again?" "No," he said, lifting his tear-stained face. "I do not want any of that. I just want you to know that I understand. I understand what I did to you. I understand that I destroyed our relationship. I understand that you will probably never forgive me, and I do not blame you. I just wanted you to know. I just wanted you to know that I am going to live the rest of my life carrying this, with what I did to you." He stood up to leave. But something inside me moved, something that had been buried under pain and rage. "Michael," I called him. He stopped. "You hurt me. A lot. But that woman hurt you too. She manipulated you. She used you. She destroyed you. And although what you did to me is unforgivable, I understand you were not in your right mind. You were under her control. That is no excuse," he said. "I decided to believe her instead of you. I decided to raise my hand against my own mother. That was my decision. My fault." He was right. But it was also true that she had expertly manipulated him. She had played with his insecurities, with his need to feel loved, with his fear of being alone. "I'm not going to press charges against you," I told him finally, "but I am not going to forget what happened either. I cannot. Forgiveness, if it ever comes, is going to take a long time. Years, maybe." "I understand," he said, "and I accept it. Whatever you decide, I accept it." I gave him the number of a therapist Richard had recommended. "Go to therapy. Process what happened. Learn from this. And maybe, just maybe, someday we can have something resembling a mother-son relationship again. But that day is not today. Nor tomorrow. Nor next month." Michael left that night. I stayed in my living room in my reclaimed house, thinking about everything that had happened. Thinking about the woman I had been before Jessica entered our lives. A naive woman who just wanted her son to be happy. And thinking about the woman I had become. A stronger woman, wiser, more cautious. A woman who had learned that sometimes love is not enough. That sometimes you have to protect yourself first, even from your own family. The following months were of reconstruction, not just of my house, but of my life. I started going out more with Linda. We went for coffee, walked in the park, watched movies. I joined a reading group at the local library. I met other women my age who had also gone through family betrayals, abuse losses. And I realized I was not alone, that my story, although painful, was not unique. Richard became more than my lawyer. He became a friend. He came to visit me every 2 weeks to make sure everything was okay. He helped me reorganize my finances so no one could touch them again without my authorization. He taught me to be more careful, more protective of what was mine. One day, 6 months after all the drama, I received a letter. It was from Jessica, from prison. I opened it with trembling hands. In the letter, she did not apologize. She expressed no remorse. Instead, she told me I had been lucky, that others had not been so fortunate, that she was good at what she did, and if it had not been for my stubbornness, everything would have gone perfectly. The letter ended with a veiled threat. "I will see you when I get out." I showed the letter to Richard. He read it and shook his head. "She is trying to scare you, to keep you in fear. Do not give her that power." But I was no longer afraid. That letter, instead of scaring me, made me realize something important. I had won. She was in prison. I was in my house. She had lost everything. I had reclaimed my life. 2 years have passed since that terrible night of my birthday. 2 years since my son broke my arm and locked me in a dark closet. 2 years since I dialed Richard's number and changed the course of my life forever. Today, I am 72, and I am sitting in the garden of my house, the house I almost lost drinking coffee with Linda while the roses I planted last month begin to bloom. My arm healed. Not perfectly. It still hurts when it is going to rain. I still cannot lift heavy things like before, but it works. And every time I look at the surgery scar, I do not see weakness. I see survival. I see the mark of a battle I won. Jessica served 1 year of her 7-year sentence. Richard keeps me informed. He tells me she behaves well in prison because she wants to get out early for good behavior. But he already put legal mechanisms in place to ensure that when she gets out, if she gets out early, she has a restraining order preventing her from getting close to me, my house, my life. She will not be able to touch you ever again, he promised me. And I believe him. Michael and I have been rebuilding our relationship slowly, very slowly. He went to therapy, as I suggested. He got a new job. He moved to a small apartment on the other side of the city. He comes to visit me once a month. He always rings the doorbell. He never enters without permission. He never stays more than an hour. We talk about superficial things, the weather, his job, the news. We never talk about what happened. Not yet. Maybe someday, maybe never. 3 months ago, he asked for my forgiveness formally. He arrived with flowers. He knelt in my living room and told me with tears in his eyes, "Mom, I know I have no right to ask you this. I know what I did is unforgivable, but I need you to know that not a day goes by that I do not regret it. Not an hour goes by that I do not hate myself for hurting you. And although I know I can never repair the damage I caused, I want to spend the rest of my life trying to be a better son. If you allow me," I did not answer him that day. I told him I needed to think, that forgiveness was not something I could give just like that as if nothing had happened. And he understood. He left without pressuring me, without demanding anything. That night I thought a lot about what it means to forgive. I thought about whether forgiving meant forgetting, if it meant trusting again, if it meant letting go of the pain. I came to the conclusion that forgiving means none of those things. Forgiving means deciding not to let the poison of hate consume me. It means deciding that my mental peace is more important than my desire for revenge. It means letting go not for him, but for me. So the next time he came to visit, I told him I forgive you, Michael. Not because you deserve it, not because what you did is right. I forgive you because I deserve peace. And I cannot have peace if I keep carrying all this rage. He cried. He cried like a child. And I let him cry. I did not hug him. I did not console him. I just let him process what I had told him. When he finally calmed down, he looked at me and said, "Thank you, Mom. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I promise I will honor it. I am going to be better. I am going to be the son I always should have been. I do not know if he will achieve it. I do not know if someday we will have the relationship we had before again. Probably not. Probably that relationship died the day he locked me in that closet. But maybe we can build a new one based on respect, on clear boundaries, on honesty, one where I never have to doubt my own worth again. My life is different now. It is quieter, smaller perhaps, but it is mine, completely mine. No one tells me when I can use my kitchen. No one steals my money. No one makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. Linda and I see each other almost every day. She has become the sister I never had. We tell each other everything. We laugh together. We cry together. We grow old together. The reading group at the library became my favorite space. There, I met Irene, a 75-year-old woman who went through something similar with her daughter and son-in-law. We became friends. Sometimes we get together to drink tea and share our stories. Stories of betrayal, of pain, but also of resilience, of how we got up when the world knocked us down. I also started volunteering at a community center that helps older victims of family abuse. I share my story there. I tell other women who are going through what I went through that they are not alone, that they are not crazy, that they have the right to defend themselves, that they have the right to recover their dignity. And I see in their eyes the same pain I felt. But I also see hope. Hope that if I could get out of that, they can too. Richard is still my lawyer, but more than that, he is my friend. He comes to dinner once a month. He always brings wine, and I cook something special. We talk about everything: politics, books, life. He never married. He never had children. He confessed to me once that his job was his family. But lately, I see how he looks at me with an affection that goes beyond professional friendship. And I, to my surprise, find myself looking at him the same way. I do not know if anything is going to happen between us. At our age, things are different, slower, more meaningful. But I like having that possibility. I like feeling that my life did not end at 70, that there is still room for new connections, for new joys. The house is beautiful now. I have been transforming it little by little. I changed the furniture on the second floor. I turned one of the rooms into a sewing studio. I started sewing again, something I had not done for years. I make quilts, tablecloths, clothes for babies at the local hospital. It keeps me busy. It keeps me creative. It keeps me alive. The utility closet, that place that was my prison, I turned it into something else. I hired a carpenter to make shelves. I filled it with books, with plants, with light. I put a comfortable chair and a reading lamp. Now it is my favorite corner of the house. the place where I read, where I think, where I write in my diary. I transformed the space of my greatest humiliation into the space of my greatest peace. Sometimes I think about everything that happened, and I wonder if I could have avoided it, if I had been firmer from the beginning, if I had set clearer boundaries, if I had called the police the first time I discovered a theft. But then I realized those questions are useless. I cannot change the past. I can only learn from it. And I have learned so much. I learned that love does not mean allowing abuse. I learned that being a mother does not mean sacrificing my dignity. I learned that it is okay to set boundaries, even with family. I learned that my mental peace is worth more than maintaining false appearances. I learned that I am stronger than I thought, that I can survive things I thought would destroy me. I also learned about the power of asking for help. For years, I felt alone. I felt no one would believe me, that no one would help me. But when I finally dialed Richard's number, when I finally let Linda enter my life completely, I discovered I was not alone, that there were good people willing to help me. I just had to be brave enough to ask. A week ago, I received a call from a social worker at the community center. She told me a 68-year-old woman had arrived seeking help. Her son and daughter-in-law were abusing her. They were stealing from her. They had her isolated. She was afraid. The social worker asked if I could speak to her, if I could share my story. I went to the center that same afternoon. The woman's name was Rachel. She was sitting in a chair, hunched over with red eyes from crying so much. I sat next to her and took her hand. I went through the same thing I told her, and I survived. And you are going to survive too. I told her my story, all of it. I omitted nothing. The theft, the abuse, the broken arm, the confinement, the betrayal. But I also told her the part where I called Richard, where I got my money back, where I got my house back, where I got my life back. When I finished speaking, Rachel looked at me with eyes full of tears, but also of something else. Determination. "Can I really get out of this?" she asked me. "Really," I answered. "It is not going to be easy. It is going to hurt. It is going to be terrifying. But yes, you can get out of this, and I am going to help you." Now, Rachel is part of my life. I visit her weekly. I help her navigate the legal system. I accompany her to appointments with her lawyer. I remind her every day that she is not alone, that what they are doing to her is not right, that she deserves better. And I see how little by little, like me 2 years ago, she starts to regain her strength, her voice, her dignity. This morning, while I was watering my roses, I thought about the whole journey, from that scared and broken woman locked in a dark closet to the woman I am today. A woman who is no longer afraid, a woman who knows her worth, a woman who has turned her pain into purpose. I do not know what the future brings. I do not know if Michael and I will ever have a true reconciliation. I do not know if Richard and I will become something more than friends. I do not know how many more years I have left in this world. But I know this. The years I have left will be mine. They will be lived on my terms, with my dignity intact, with my head held high. And if my story can help 1 woman, 10 women, 100 women find the strength to defend themselves, to ask for help, to take back their lives, then everything I went through will have been worth it. My pain will have become someone else's power. My darkness will have become someone else's light. Because in the end, that is what we women who survive are. We are silent warriors. We are the ones who fall and get up, the ones who cry and then dry their tears and keep going, the ones who forgive, not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to let go of the poison of hate, the ones who find beauty even after the most brutal storm. This is my story, the story of Emily Miller, the woman who almost lost everything but who in the end recovered everything, including herself.